What makes a great performer? A model for presentation improvement. There are 6 essentials of a performance or presentation. I'd like to consider these essentials, and to understand the essentials of a great performance and a great performer, I invite you to enter the presenter's circle. Assume that we experience the world as a performance. And as we enter the performance circle, consider the performance and the performer, and consider the performer's influence, the performer's reputation, and the performer's capability. Now, I'd like to create a model comprised of real but abstract interacting variables. What I mean by that is, I want to take these 4 concepts, reputation, influence, capability, and performance, and explain how they can relate to our own performance improvement. And understand this is a very complex interaction. At the simplest level, there are interactions between our reputation and our influence, between our performance and our capability. And there are further interactions and further complexities as each of these 4 variables interact with the other 3. So what I'm doing is creating a model to simplify the complex and to give some insight in order to make predictions about our own performance and our own presentation improvement. And we need a little bit more theory. I want to define these concepts, these 4 variables, beginning with reputation. And for the purpose of this presentation, let us say that our reputation is something that maps and pinpoints our position relative to others. And let's define influence as a measure of our magnetic appeal or alienation. Our capability is a potential, and thus, as a potential of our human performance and presentation, it's really the great mystery of human nature. And finally, consider the performance itself, which is really a mask. The performance masks our public face, the face that we present to the world. Now, another way to look at these verbal concepts is to provide a symbol. So in the case of reputation, let's use a 5-pointed star. In the case of influence, let's use a hexagon, and for our capability, a triangle, and finally for our performance, a square. And again, let's look at these interactions using these definitions and these symbols, these colors. Now, at this point, I don't think we've really clarified what this model is trying to convey. So I'm going to use a model that many of us are familiar with called the 6x6 rule. And I want to explore our own performance potential through the landscape of our imagination, our visual imagination. So here we see this reputation, influence, capability, and performance. And I'm going to suggest that the reputational aspect of our performance can be answered by the question where. And the influential aspect of our performance or presentation answers the question how much. Our capability is answered by the question when, and our performance by the question who. And in the case of where, you remember, or you from the 6x6 rule, you will understand that the where of our reputation is the map of our performance presentation. Our influence is in the second quadrant, which answers how much. Our capability answers the question when, and our performance answers the question who or what. So how do these 4 performance variables come together? Well, they come together by answering the question, how do we achieve our best performance or presentation? Or if we reframe the question and consider performance really as a performance art, then we answer the question, how does a performer flow? And the answer is not really a logical one, it's an experiential one. And a performer flows visually. And if we look at the 4 concepts we talked about before, let's substitute for the how of our performance with a map. The influential aspect, let's use an icon of a magnet. For the capability, let's use an icon of mystery. And finally, for the performer or the performance, let's use an icon or a symbol of a mask. Now, the task of the performer or the presenter is to manage these 4 or 5 variables. And if we now put these performance variables back into our map, rather if we put this back into our model using a map with pictograms, we can engage the imagination at a very deep level, much deeper than the level of reason. So how do these performance variables come together? They come together visually, where we understand our performance as a mask that really conceals the identity of who we are. And our reputation is really a map that pinpoints where we are at a particular point in time. Our influence is like a magnet that can attract or repel. And our capability is really our potential. It's really the great mystery of a performance art or a performer's capability. And we don't really know when it is revealed. So if we understand our presentation is a performance art, using this science of symbols of visual thinking, we see our performance, our reputation, and our influence and our capability all come together with ease using the principles of vivid thinking. And the question, why does a performer seek for better performance, is answered simply because the price is worth paying.